Yeah, welcome to that just fall over. Welcome to Subscribers Corner, and I felt that I owed you all a little bit of a thank you, because I did this sort of plea for help on this sort of 4-foot monstrosity of a juniper, and I actually got loads of answers back, lots of different options, but there was a few key comments that were coming through on all of them that I've certainly got to take to point. And I'm just gonna read through a few of them. So some of the comments I got for this one. Karenseraph says she's a novice, but she came up with some really good stuff. She made a really good point. I was talking about, I think, this one here having almost separation from the main clump, and that there was set roots growing. She said I need to look under the substrate, see if there's enough roots in place to actually separate that as an individual tree. So she was looking at, is it possible to make multiple projects of all of these? So in effect, trying to get 4 trees. And that was initially, I thought, yeah, I could actually try and do some almost ground layering on some lower trunks and see what happens. So thank you, Karen. Alex Braunton, again, he was going with the idea of the separation for this number one trunk. And then he obviously brought up the idea, let's say obviously like everyone should have got it, but going for the raft style, windswept, with what's left. And again, it's a good idea. That would leave 3. Matthew Groves, quite like the wall of trunks, the wall, WHORL. That's why I picked it originally. I didn't pick it because I like junipers. I loved the whole makeup of the roots. In fact, if I'd done a bit more investigation right at the beginning, which is what Jason Hanrahan suggested, I might have actually looked at it and gone, do you know what, these roots or these trunks may look a little bit dodgy, let's leave this one. But I've got it, so that's not an option now. His was actually the most sensible advice. Every time I say things like this, it makes everyone else think like they're idiots or something. They're not, obviously. But he suggested that what I really need to do is next year get this into a good substrate, really give the roots a chance to recover, and for me to actually have a look and see what the root system looks like, and then basically leave it right through 23. Then start looking in 24, seeing what sort of foliage growth you get, and at that point start looking. So yeah, longer term, but sometimes we have to be real and turn around and say, if I want to make this into something decent, I've actually got to put the time in the long yards. So that's actually a very, very realistic option with this, and certainly it's the starting place for everyone's options that they've come up with, and that's getting into a good substrate next year. So from Derek Daniels, he's given me a number of options, but all of them have this first one severed from the main trunk. So that's just leaving the last 3. It's got an interesting one, this one, bearing in mind that I've watched TonysBonsai. He says make a tanuki, get some large dead wood, cut channels and arrange the trunks to make one large bonsai. That's quite an interesting idea, and I think once we've investigated the roots next year and allowed this to strengthen, that's an interesting idea actually. The trunks themselves are so set that I had to go with some sort of bending a little bit last week, and within the bounds of my ability, there's no way I'm going to even be able to attempt to bend any of those. So I'm not going to go down that route with bending. He's also come up with make a 3-tree trunk raft style, or make a multi-trunk semi-cascade. Paul Cropper, in agreement with Alex, he likes the idea of a windswept clump. Get some really thick wire and bang some right movement into all those long branches, layering on top of each other. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Tony from TonysBonsai, very interesting plant. That can cover a lot of different truths in it. We all know that, but yes, it is a very interesting plant. He agrees, get rid of 1, separate that, and do whatever with that. 2 and 3, which was these 2 on this side, he said he cut back, gin the stumps and gin them back to the stumps. So he's looking at using the branches that are here and growing. It's not a bad idea actually. So I think he's talking about the fact that we've got branches here and here about 18 inches up, and actually start thinking about that becoming the tree. There's some gin points here, and look at where lower branches are, and then start the design from there. As for 4, that's that one over there. The last one there, I'd probably just leave that for the time being to maintain health in the tree. It's a good point he's making there. It's, in fact, I didn't pick up on it. All the time you're doing stuff, we know this isn't the healthiest of trees, so we're looking at the roots. But there is also the point about junipers, they want to have, they need green stuff to keep those roots, to keep the roots healthy. So yeah, so it's something there about keeping one of the branches going. Green Machine, Magnus. To me it looks like rotten trunk, but it may be possible to save a separate tree. And he also goes for windswept forests. Anything else will not honour what the tree wants to be, in my opinion. It's your tree, you are the artist. What does the tree want to be? I just think the tree wants me to leave it alone. Guy Watson, Guy, thank you very much, by the way. I love the way you're slowly making your way through all my videos. That must be real purgatory, but cheers for that. He's going for the 3 trunk clump style and prune the branches back as far as you could go. Yeah, that's a good option, and potentially next year when I have a look at the roots and repot and see that if I can separate this one, that may be the initial way I look at it. That seems to sort of coincide with quite a lot of thoughts in different variations. MagicWay, thank you. I'm glad this video makes your day. Thank you. Yeah, Jay from Blue Jay's Bonsai. He says I should look at someone else's tree, the Eastern White Cedar. Yep, I know it's not the same. I did have a look, and yes, I got some inspiration. Less is more. He's going down the line, so I actually picked my preferred trunk, and I think basically gin the rest. Raffia and trunk splitters. We've got trunk splitters, and I've never really used them. But actually, that might be the answer for the bending, actually, which I was talking about earlier. I've seen Ryan Neal do the trunk splitting in raffia. Maybe. Either way, I can ponder on that while this thing's recovering for a year in new soil. Andrew Beattie, with his, he hasn't got an uneducated eye. He says he has an uneducated eye, but I've spoken to him for a good hour or so, and he knows an awful lot more than he suggests. He would lose the trunk. Yeah, okay. And hopefully it survives the single. So that seems to be the consensus all around, and that's definitely a given. I want to get something out of this and then experiment with the rest. Then he's going triple chunk, and he does suggest maybe some rebar, because if it's good enough for Ryan Neal, then it's good enough for obviously me. And Janet Howell, she cries out for a mallee style with a smaller mallee at the side. Yeah, guess whose channel that's come from. The fact that I'm laughing means I haven't guessed. Sorry, Jack. Derek Daniels also suggested a large multi-stemmed literati, which goes back to one of the suggestions that Karen made. Anyway, oh no, I've got another page. I had 4 pages. I was just so impressed. Jason Hanrahan from the Bonsai Garden, he says cut it right back, and he quite rightly suggests, as I said earlier, maybe next time I need to be a bit better at my selections, and if I see rubbish in the corner, rather than spending money, I'll just leave it in the corner. He did talk about air layers, but he's quite right. I missed the window for it this year. Again though, the air layer is an option, and I have heard that you can actually take air layers, start taking air layers now. They tend to be on for a long time anyway, so that could be an option now, but I could also leave that for next year. As I say, going back to the fact that we've got to get that substrate sorted out and the roots sorted. And Paul Cropper, thanks. Check out Bonsai Walks, WRX, and I checked him out because he's from my favourite, Melbourne. I used to live in Brighton Beach, and then Hampton, and then Upway, up near Belgrave and Puffing Billy. So I was educated out in Melbourne. Yeah, got a great education out there. Great life, great place to grow up. But yeah, so I've had a look at Bonsai Walks, and works, and yeah, he's certainly got some good ideas as well. So anyway, so for the replies everyone gave me on the juniper, I've certainly got a lot to work on, and I've certainly got one common theme. First one, be separating that next year in the spring, repotting the rest. I'll then get a chance to have a look at the the bottom of the trunk structure there and just see, one, how rotten it is and how much can be saved. And then from then I'll revisit these items and see which are the best options to go for. But certainly, if people are still interested in watching me, this is going to be a longer term project. So, from Subscribers Corner, thanks very much. Hope I haven't bored you too much, but I do appreciate all the comments you've been making. Cheers.